We're going to look at some transformations. A transformation is a change in position or size. It usually refers to 2D shapes drawn on a grid, but at a higher level, at GCSE grades A and A level, it also refers to graphs. What we're going to look at specifically today are just the shapes. There are 4 different types of transformations, and we are going to focus on the key skills that you need to be able to apply the transformations to different types of questions. The first transformation is reflections, which you are probably already aware of. Second is rotations, we've got translations, and we've got enlargements. What we're going to focus on today specifically is reflections, and we're going to look at how to get from level 4 up to level 6 and beyond. So at level 4, what you need to be able to do to secure a level 4 is plot a mirror line. Now, a mirror line is how to map one shape onto another. The shape that you start with is your object. The shape that's been reflected is the image. And for level 4, using a grid, all you need to be able to do is find where that mirror line is going to be. So if we take a line, we know it's got to be parallel to that one and parallel to that line. So it's going to go through the middle here. So if I draw a line that goes up through the middle there, okay, and then we just need to check. Now, if we were to look at that closely, using a ruler, you can see if you measure that, that distance there, almost 3 centimetres, is much bigger than that distance there, which is only 2 centimetres. So to have a proper mirror line and to secure your level 4, you need to ensure that this line through here is the exact middle of where these 2 shapes are. So if we start again, move that, and okay, that distance between there is 5, halfway between is 2.5, so I know my mirror line needs to go through there. Just make it a little bit longer. And now that distance there, 1, 2 squares, is the same as that distance there, 1, 2 squares. If I go further down, 2 squares, 2 squares. So that is the mirror line that reflects this onto here, or this onto here. And that's what you need to be able to do to secure your level 4. For level 5, you're already given your mirror line and you need to be able to reflect the shape. Now, we've deliberately chosen a diagonal mirror line because you will have looked at horizontal and you would have looked at vertical mirror lines much lower down when you were doing level 3. It's the same principle in that each distance for each corner or vertice of your shape needs to be the same on either side of your mirror line. So to find where this shape is, all I need to do is count from here to here. And I need to make sure that I'm counting at right angles to where my mirror line is. So if we start off with this corner here, and we count through 1, 2, 3.5 squares. So going the other way, 1/2, 1, 2, 3 squares. That corner, that vertice of that shape is going to be reflected in that mirror line to that point up there. This corner, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to keep counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to end up there. So this point, this corner, vertice has been reflected in this line to give that point up there. Take my next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now looking at that, you can tell your last one has got to go up there, but we're going to check just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And by taking each of the vertices in turn, you can be absolutely confident that this shape over here, the image, is a reflection of the object that you started with. All we need to do now is join it up. And there you have the image of that shape there with your line of reflection. So whilst looking at level 5, you need to make sure that you are counting the correct distance and that you are counting at right angles to where you started. If you take the whole thing and rotate it, if we rotate it around so that your mirror line is horizontal, vertical, so that your mirror line is vertical, you can see much easier how that is mapped onto that, and that and that are reflections of each other. So if you're struggling with the work, if you're struggling with diagonal mirror lines, turn your paper around through whatever degree to end up with a vertical mirror line. Also at level 5, you need to be able to do it without a grid. So this time, I've got my shape, I've got my mirror line, but I've got no squares to count. Take a ruler and make sure, again, that your ruler is at 90 degrees, perpendicular to your mirror line, and you measure. Take each point in turn again. That distance from there to there is 8 centimetres, therefore that distance from there to there is also 8 centimetres. I'm just going to mark that point there. Take my next vertice, my next corner, this one here, from there to there is 6. If I go this side, keeping my ruler at the same height, from there to there is also 6. Mark on my second one. Do it again. 10 centimetres, move it across. 10 centimetres, and then bottom ones. From there to there is 7 centimetres. From there to there, 7. Measure the next one. Oops. From there to there is 9. Keeping it at the same height. From there to there is 9. There, 7, 7, and then my last point, which is 9 centimetres, from there to there is also 9 centimetres. So I've got all the vertex of my shape drawn, and now I'm just going to join them up with a straight line. That one to there. And what you have is a reflection of your original shape, your original object, reflected in the mirror line, in the correct position, equal distance away either side. So at a level 5, you need to be able to do reflections in diagonal lines at 45 degrees. You also need to be able to do reflections whereby you haven't got a grid to support what you're doing. It can get a bit more challenging. Your mirror lines can be placed anywhere, and you could have more than one mirror line. To look at this particular one, what we would have to do, measure our perpendicular distances from the first mirror line and reflect, then measure the perpendicular distances from our second mirror line and reflect. And stop. So at level 5, you need to make sure you're measuring the perpendicular distances away from your mirror line and reflect it over. Then take your image and reflect it again in a second mirror line, ensuring that your distances are perpendicular, same size, both sides, and that's what you'll end up with. So the original, the object, has been reflected twice in 2 mirror lines and has moved from here to here. So long as you make sure you're measuring your distances and you're making sure that your lines are perpendicular to each other, then you know that your image is going to be in the correct place. Also at level 5, you need to be comfortable with naming the mirror lines. Here I have 3 arrows. This one here, the pink one, is the original. The blue one is a reflection of the pink one, and from our skills we learned in level 4, we know that our mirror line is going to go down there. Same distance either side. But to make it level 5, I now need to name my mirror line. If we take a look at the coordinate grid that we've got drawn, it's your x-axis, that's your y-axis. If I place some numbers along my x-axis, with 0 being in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, my mirror line passes through my x-axis at the point where x equals 2. So I know everywhere along this line, the x-coordinate, no matter where I put my point, will always be 2. So if I had to name this line, I would call it the x equals 2 line. To describe fully the transformation that maps the blue arrow onto the pink arrow, I would say it is a reflection, which would score me 1 mark, and then I would say in the line, there's my mirror line, x equals 2. And that describes fully the transformation from this arrow to this arrow, or vice versa. Taking the green arrow then, we're going to do the same process. This time, it's been flipped downwards. So, thinking about the skills I learned at level 4, I know I have got a mirror line that goes in between these two. So that is the same distance above and below. Now, using the skills that I need at level 5, I need to name my line. Doesn't cut my x-axis, so I know it's not an x equals line. If I look down my y-axis, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, coming downwards, -1, -2, -3. My mirror line this time cuts through my y-axis at this point here. So this line is called y is equal to -1, because everywhere along this line all the coordinates, the y part, is going to equal -1. So to describe fully the transformation from here to here, I would say again, it's a reflection. This time I'm going to say in the line y equals -1. And when describing transformations that refer to reflections, it's very important that you give both points. You have to say it's a reflection, and you have to say the name of the line in which it's reflected. So what we've looked at today are our level 4, just simply drawing in our mirror lines and looking at basic reflections. We've looked at level 5, where we've got our diagonal lines, and we've got naming our lines, which takes us finally to level 6. Now at level 6, you don't need to be able to do any reflections. What you need to know is that a reflection preserves size and angle. And what we mean by that, if we go back, the reflection here, of here, this shape is exactly the same size as this shape. The angles inside this shape are exactly the same as the angles inside this shape. So my reflection has kept the size of the object the same and has kept the angles of the object the same. If I go back, my triangles, these two triangles here are exactly the same size, and if I was to measure with a protractor, my angles inside, those two would still be the same, those two would be the same, and those two would be the same. So for my level 6, a reflection preserves size and angle. Okay, second point for level 6, reflections map objects onto congruent images. To move from your level 5 to your level 6, you need to be confident in the language which you are using. Not only do you need to be able to describe accurately what a reflection is, you also need to understand what the words mean. So a reflection maps, in other words, go back, this here has been mapped from this original shape here, okay? Objects onto congruent images. Congruent means that the size and the angle have not changed. So for any reflection, the image is going to be exactly the same size as the original object. And that's what you need to understand to secure your level 6. So finally, self-assessment. For level 4, I can use a grid to plot the reflection in a mirror line presented at 45 degrees, a diagonal line. If you feel confident you can do that, we can tick that box. I can begin to use the distance of vertices, the corners, from the mirror line to reflect shapes more accurately. So I can count how far my image is going to be away from my mirror line if I know where my object is. And that will give me at least a level 4. Okay, I can reflect shapes in a 45-degree mirror line where the shape either does not touch the mirror line or where the shape crosses the mirror line. Can we do that? If so, let's tick to say we're confident with that. I can reflect shapes not presented on grids by measuring perpendicular distances to and from the mirror line. So this is where we're moving up to our next level. The grid has been removed, you don't have the squares to count, you have to remember to use your ruler to measure accurately the perpendicular distances, those at right angles to the mirror line. If we feel confident we can do that, we tick. And then finally, I can reflect shapes in two mirror lines where the shape is not parallel and is not perpendicular to either mirror line. In other words, the mirror lines and the shapes can be placed randomly on a page and you will still be able to reflect accurately. You may be able to do it in more than two mirror lines and have a look at what happens to the images. If we can do that, we tick. That means I'm at least a level 5. Finally, notice for your level 6, it's not I can, it is I know. And I know that reflections preserve length and angle and map objects onto images. And for that, I am a level 6. What you need to do is to ensure that you have all these skills to get you up to the level 6. You can practice by drawing out your own shapes on a grid and practice reflecting them to see where the image goes. And once you're confident with each stage, we can go through, you can do your own self-assessment, write down in your books the statements, put your little box, and when you're happy, tick to say that you've done it.